My parents canceled my surgery because my sister wanted to go on vacation. But their plan backfired in the worst way. I, 23 had been living with chronic back pain for 3 years. It started during my final year of college when I injured myself during a basketball game. What seemed like a minor sprain turned into something far worse. The pain became unbearable, radiating down my legs, making it difficult to stand for more than 20 minutes at a time. I went through countless physical therapy sessions, tried medications that made me feel like a zombie, and endured sleepless nights where the pain was so intense I couldn't find a comfortable position. After 2 years of conservative treatment, my orthopedic surgeon finally recommended surgery. It wasn't optional anymore. The herniated discs in my lower back were pressing against my nerves, and without intervention, I risked permanent nerve damage. The doctor was clear about the urgency. We scheduled the surgery for June 15th, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Finally, I could see an end to this nightmare. The surgery wasn't cheap. Even with insurance, my portion came to around $12,000. I had been saving every penny from my entry-level marketing job, cutting back on everything. No eating out, no entertainment, nothing. My parents had promised to help with $5,000. They sat me down in their living room 2 months before the surgery and assured me they would have the money ready. My father told me not to worry, that they wanted to help me get better. I trusted them completely. 3 weeks before my surgery, I went to their house for Sunday dinner. My sister had flown in from California, which was unusual since she typically only visited during holidays. She was 26, worked in tech, and had always been the golden child. Everything she did was celebrated, while my achievements were footnotes in family conversations. During dinner, my mother seemed anxious. She kept glancing at my father, and I could sense something was coming. After we finished eating, they asked me to stay in the dining room. My sister sat there with a bright smile on her face, practically glowing with excitement. My father cleared his throat and explained that my sister had an incredible opportunity. She had been working incredibly hard, he said, and deserved a break. She wanted to take a 3-week vacation to Europe with her boyfriend, visiting 6 countries. The trip was expensive, around $8,000, and they wanted to help her make memories. My mother chimed in, talking about how my sister rarely asked them for anything, how she had been stressed at work, how important it was for her mental health. Then came the part that made my stomach drop. My father said they needed to postpone their contribution to my surgery, not cancel it. He insisted, just delay it. They promised they would give me the money later, maybe in 3 or 4 months. He suggested I could reschedule the surgery for September or October. My mother added that back surgery wasn't technically an emergency, that I had been managing the pain so far, so a few more months wouldn't hurt. I sat there, unable to process what I was hearing. I asked them if they understood what they were saying. I explained that I had already arranged time off work, that my surgeon had scheduled the operating room, that I had been waiting months for this specific date. I told them about the nerve damage risk, about how my doctor had stressed the importance of not delaying further. My sister rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic. She pointed out that I was young and could recover at any time, but her vacation window was limited because of her work projects. My mother agreed, saying that my sister had been planning this trip for weeks and had already told her boyfriend's family about it. I felt something break inside me. I asked them directly if they were seriously choosing a vacation over my health. My father got defensive, raising his voice, saying I was being selfish and trying to guilt them. He insisted they would give me the money eventually, and I was acting like they were abandoning me. My mother started crying, saying I was ruining my sister's happiness and making everything about myself. I left their house that night without saying another word. My hands were shaking as I drove home. I had 3 weeks to figure out how to come up with $5,000 or cancel the surgery myself and risk permanent damage. I picked up extra freelance work, barely sleeping. I reached out to extended family, but my parents had already told everyone their version of the story, painting me as the ungrateful son who was jealous of my sister's success. 2 of my aunts actually called me to lecture me about family harmony. I applied for medical loans but got rejected because of my limited credit history and low income. 10 days before my surgery, I made the call I had been dreading. I contacted the hospital and canceled. The scheduler was sympathetic but told me that getting back on the surgery calendar could take months. I hung up and sat in my apartment, staring at the wall. The pain in my back seemed to intensify, as if my body knew what I had just done. My sister posted photos from her European vacation all over social media. Pictures of her and her boyfriend in Paris, Rome, Barcelona. Every image felt like a knife twisting in my gut. My parents commented on every single photo with heart emojis and messages about how proud they were of her. 2 weeks into her trip, I woke up one morning and couldn't feel my left foot. The numbness had finally progressed to the point my doctor had warned me about. I drove myself to the emergency room, where they confirmed that the nerve compression had worsened. The ER doctor was frustrated when I told him I had canceled my surgery. He said I had made a serious mistake and needed to get back on the surgical schedule immediately. I left the hospital with a prescription for stronger pain medication and a follow-up appointment. The medication helped with the pain, but made me foggy and useless at work. I was falling behind on deadlines, struggling to concentrate. My boss noticed and called me in for a meeting, expressing concern about my performance. I didn't tell my parents about the ER visit. I stopped answering their calls and messages. My mother sent me long texts saying I was being immature, that I needed to let go of my anger and be happy for my sister. My father left me a voicemail saying they had the money available now and I should schedule my surgery. He said it like he was doing me a favor, like the past month hadn't happened. I wasn't the same person anymore. Something had fundamentally changed in how I viewed them. I realized that I had spent my entire life seeking their approval, trying to measure up to my sister, accepting scraps of attention and support. This wasn't a one-time mistake on their part. This was a pattern I had been too blind to see. I went back to my surgeon and explained the situation. He managed to get me on the schedule for mid-September, 3 months after the original date. The delay had consequences. My surgeon was blunt during the pre-op consultation. The additional nerve damage meant the surgery would be more complex, the recovery longer, and there was now a possibility that some of the numbness in my foot might be permanent. I took out a medical loan with a brutal interest rate to cover the costs. I didn't ask my parents for a single dollar. When my mother found out about my surgery date through a family member I had confided in, she called me immediately. She said they wanted to come to the hospital, wanted to help with my recovery. I told her no. She was shocked, asking how I could be so cruel, how I could shut them out like this. I explained very calmly that they had made their choice, and I was making mine. The surgery happened on September 18th. I went through it alone. A friend from work drove me to the hospital and picked me up afterward. The procedure took 6 hours, longer than originally anticipated because of the additional damage. My surgeon told me the delay had definitely made things worse, but he was cautiously optimistic about my recovery. Recovery was hell. The pain was excruciating for the first 2 weeks. I couldn't work, could barely move, and had to rely on friends to bring me groceries and check on me. My parents sent flowers to my apartment with a card saying they were thinking of me. I threw the card away and gave the flowers to my neighbor. 6 weeks after surgery, I started physical therapy. The numbness in my foot had improved, but hadn't completely resolved. My physical therapist said it might never fully return to normal. Every session was a reminder of what the delay had cost me. During one of my therapy sessions, I received a call from my sister. She wanted to meet for coffee, said we needed to talk. I was curious enough to agree, though I had no expectations. We met at a cafe near my apartment. She looked uncomfortable, fidgeting with her coffee cup. She told me she felt terrible about what had happened. She said she hadn't realized how serious my situation was, that our parents had downplayed my medical issues to her. She claimed they had told her my surgery was elective, something I wanted but didn't urgently need. I asked her if she really believed that, or if she just hadn't wanted to know the truth. She didn't have an answer. She apologized and said she would pay me back the $5,000. I told her I didn't want her money. What I wanted was for her to understand that her vacation had cost me permanent nerve damage, months of suffering, and a massive debt that would take years to pay off. She started crying, saying she didn't know what to do to make things right. I told her there was nothing she could do. The damage was done. I suggested she think carefully about the kind of person she wanted to be and the kind of family dynamics she wanted to perpetuate. Then I left. Update 1. 3 months after my surgery, I was at a family gathering I had reluctantly agreed to attend. It was my grandmother's 80th birthday, and she had specifically asked me to be there. I went for her, not for my parents. The atmosphere was tense. My parents tried to act like everything was normal, but everyone could feel the weight of unspoken issues. My sister avoided eye contact with me for most of the evening. Late in the party, my father pulled me aside. He wanted to talk about what had happened, said it was time to move past it. He told me he understood I was upset, but that family was more important than holding grudges. He said my mother was devastated by my coldness and that my behavior was affecting everyone. I looked at him and asked if he had any idea what the past 6 months had been like for me. I described the chronic pain, the numbness that might never fully go away, the debt I was drowning in, the nights I couldn't sleep because of physical and emotional anguish. I asked him if he thought a vacation to Europe was worth all of that. He got defensive again, saying they had offered the money afterward, that I was the one who refused their help. I pointed out that their offer came after I had already canceled my surgery, after the damage had been done. I told him that offering money after betraying someone doesn't erase the betrayal. My mother overheard part of our conversation and came over. She was crying, saying I was tearing the family apart, that I needed to forgive them. She said they had made a mistake but didn't deserve to be punished forever. I told them both very clearly that I wasn't punishing them. I was protecting myself. I had learned that I couldn't depend on them, that their love came with conditions and priorities that didn't include my well-being. I said I needed space and boundaries, and if they couldn't respect that, then we had nothing more to discuss. Several relatives witnessed this exchange. My grandmother later pulled me aside and said she was proud of me for standing up for myself. She apologized for not knowing the full story earlier and said she wished she could have helped. That conversation meant more to me than anything my parents had said in months. Update 2. 8 months post-surgery, my life had changed dramatically. The physical therapy had helped significantly. I still had some residual numbness in my foot, and my surgeon confirmed it was likely permanent, but I had regained most of my mobility. The chronic back pain that had dominated my life for years was finally gone. Financially, I was still struggling with the medical debt, but I had a plan to pay it off within 2 years. I had switched to a better-paying job that offered more flexibility and understanding about my medical situation. My relationship with my parents remained distant. We exchanged occasional texts about logistics and family events, but the warmth was gone. My mother made several attempts to rebuild the relationship, sending long messages about how much she missed me, how family should stick together. I responded politely but didn't engage emotionally. My sister and I had an unexpected conversation that shifted something between us. She reached out and asked to meet again, said she had been in therapy and working through her own issues with our family dynamics. She admitted that she had always been aware of the favoritism, had even benefited from it consciously. She said watching what happened to me had forced her to confront uncomfortable truths about herself and our parents. She told me she had started setting boundaries with them too, pushing back when they made unreasonable requests or tried to manipulate situations. She said she understood if I never wanted a relationship with her again, but she wanted me to know she was trying to be better. I appreciated her honesty. I told her I wasn't ready to be close, but I was willing to be civil. We agreed to take things slowly, no expectations or pressure. The real backfire for my parents came during a family crisis they never anticipated. My father had a minor heart attack and needed surgery himself. It wasn't life-threatening, but it was serious enough to require medical intervention and a recovery period. They called me when it happened, my mother frantic on the phone, asking me to come to the hospital. I went because despite everything, I'm not heartless. I sat with them during the surgery, made sure my father was stable. During his recovery, they needed help. My father couldn't drive or do physical tasks. My mother was overwhelmed trying to manage everything. They naturally assumed I would step in and help them through this difficult time. They expected me to take time off work, help with errands, be present the way family is supposed to be. I showed up for the essential things. I visited my father in the hospital, helped move some furniture when he came home, made sure they had groceries. But I didn't drop everything. I didn't rearrange my life around their crisis. I maintained my boundaries and my own priorities. My mother was hurt by what she perceived as my lack of involvement. She confronted me one evening, asking why I was being so distant when they needed me. She said she couldn't believe I would withhold support during such a scary time. I reminded her very calmly of June 15th, the date my original surgery was supposed to happen. I asked her if she remembered why I had to cancel it. I pointed out that when I needed them most, they chose my sister's vacation. Now that they needed me, they expected unconditional support and sacrifice. The irony wasn't lost on her. She stood there, unable to respond, tears streaming down her face. My father, who had been listening from the couch, looked devastated. For the first time, I think they truly understood what they had done. I wasn't cruel about it. I didn't refuse to help entirely, but I made it clear that our relationship had fundamentally changed. I would be a decent human being and family member within reason, but I would never again put their needs above my own well-being. I would never again trust them with my vulnerability. My sister actually stepped up more than I expected during my father's recovery. She flew in from California, took time off work, and handled a lot of the day-to-day care. I think she was trying to prove something, maybe to me, maybe to herself. The family dynamics have settled into a new reality. My parents know they can't make demands on me anymore. They tread carefully in conversations, aware that I won't tolerate guilt trips or manipulation. Some relatives think I'm too harsh, that I should fully forgive and forget. Others quietly support my stance, having witnessed the whole situation unfold. I've made peace with the permanent numbness in my foot. It's a reminder of the cost of trusting the wrong people with critical decisions. But it's also a reminder that I survived, that I learned to stand up for myself, and that I'm stronger than I thought. My parents lost something they can never get back, my unconditional trust and the relationship we once had. Their choice to prioritize a vacation over my health didn't just delay my surgery. It revealed their true priorities and permanently altered how I see them. That's the backfire they never saw coming, and it's one they'll live with for the rest of their lives. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot to us.